Hey everybody, guess what? It's Kevin, and it's time for your 2-minute training. Yes, still part of the non-barber edition. Well, here's the deal. We're taping a few of these sequentially so that we can push out good information for you for a number of Wednesdays to just give you some thought. Man, we've gone through a time right now, but one of the topics at hand is just race and bias, implicit bias. You hear all these terms being thrown all over the place. And believe me, at 2-minute trainings, we don't get political. We don't get controversial. We're educational. But I will encourage you this. Let's just say that you're white. And let's just say that there's someone black that's in your comm center or an officer or a records clerk or whatever it might be. If you feel comfortable at the break room, I know not everyone gets breaks. If you feel comfortable when you walk into the break room and you're just grabbing some coffee, if you know that individual, just say, hey, I'm curious. I'm trying to educate myself more on race relations. When was the first time that you experienced bias or prejudice or anything like that? Now, I will tell you, and there's been a flood of emotions over the weeks. And when I was a brand new baby dispatcher, I worked with just a great guy. He started as a community service officer, worked his way to police officer, and he was truly one of my best friends at the beginning of my career, and remained that way for so long. And we were just talking over drinks one day, and it wasn't really even a racial thing. It was just a discussion of his life. It so happened that his mom and dad moved into a predominantly white neighborhood, and his mom was going to run a daycare center. Well, one day he's walking home from school. This is like 5th grade, and all of a sudden here comes some middle school kids with a hatchet chasing him down the street. That was his welcome to the predominantly white neighborhood. You ask any African American what was their first experience with prejudice or bias or anything that we're talking about, and maybe you'll understand more why a lot of people are upset. In just my lifetime, the Voting Rights Act. So 50 years ago, you couldn't even vote if you were black. You couldn't own property in their history. There's just a million different reasons. So if you're really mad when you start hearing words like bias, understand the words. So one of the things we ask is listen. Just listen to people. Educate yourself. Now, you might see a 2-minute training on it down the line. I've heard a lot about this great book called White Fragility, and I know nothing other than it talks about, the bias that I might have as a white person. I'm going to read it because maybe I can educate myself. There's a lot of articles. There's a lot of magazines. There's a lot of things out there. And so one thing, and again, I'm going to focus on the 911 industry. When someone calls 911 and they feel like they're being treated as a less than or feeling like they aren't being listened to, that's when the swear words and the anger and the raised volumes and all these things might happen on a phone call. How about we start being really understanding with every race we talk to? As you're talking to them on the phone, you don't know what race they are for certain. Thank you so much for calling. I know it had to be tough for you to make this phone call. I appreciate you calling about fill in the blank. If you can start being the first point of contact that feels like community policing, that they hear the words thank you, and when I say they, I mean every caller, I don't mean any specific race. Let's start being the equalizer, not being concerned about race on the call taker position, because right now, I'm just focusing on you, the person that's calling in that's nice enough to let us know that someone's wandering down the street with a knife, or that someone's weaving in and out of traffic, or that they smell smoke, or they see someone having a seizure. Let's let our voice be the one that says, we're family, we're inclusive, and I'm going to treat you like my own family member. And if we can do that, we're taking steps in the right direction. There's been your little 2-minute rant, training, discussion, and listening opportunity. I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.